What is up, though, Lions fans? It's your boy, Motor City Don P. We're back here once again, and you already know what time it is. It is time to bust that rhyme about that grit and that grime and all that slime. We got some things that we got to get into, but before we get into it, we got to take care of the formalities. So, indeed, we will do such right now. One thing's for certain and three things for sure when you see me, French TV. Number one, the Motor City Cats are indeed back at it. Number two, we came to give you stats, not none of that static. And number three, perhaps the most important number of them all, number three. Want to make sure you keep your Lions news pragmatic. And you may be asking yourself, how, Don? How, Mr. P, does one keep their Lions news pragmatic? Well, it's very simple. It's easy. I'm going to tell you. I'm not going to keep it from you. I don't do that. Smash the like button, subscribe, and share. And once you've done those three things in any order, you've done them in, you've indeed kept your Lions news pragmatic, and you may be wondering what else you should do. Well, since sharing is caring, once you've shared this stream with your mother, your brothers, your fathers, your sisters, your cousins, your uncles, your brothers, your fathers, sisters, your mothers, your fathers, your brothers, you name it, you have indeed cared about those people. What is up, though, everybody in the chat? What up, though, to the people who are lurking, who are working, who are twerking, who are smirking, who are doing any other things that that rhyme with lurking? Some of those things are a little bit too freaky for me, so keep it to yourself. And some of those things are quite illegal. Get you a lot of jail time. So just make sure you don't let me know what you are doing if you're doing either of those things. But we have some stuffs to talk about today. And those stuffs are about this offseason. Now, what is going on in this offseason? We don't know. We really don't know. I was having conversations with my guys from Syndicats 365. If you guys have not checked out Syndicats 365, it is me, Lions Syndicate, and Lions Live 365. So we will be live again on, I believe it's Sunday, the day before the legal tampering period opens. And hopefully we'll have a lot more to talk about when the legal tampering period opens or the day before than we have to talk about right now. Because right now we have nothing to talk about. There have been no restructures. There have been a couple of moves. David Montgomery was traded, if you didn't know, if you were living under a rock, to the Houston Texans for a fourth, a seventh, and a Juice Scruggs. Graham Glasgow was cut. He was released. And now there's a report that based on agents that were being talked to at the scouting combine, they don't expect the Detroit Lions to be major players in free agency. Now, what does that mean exactly? Well, we don't really know what it means because the Detroit Lions who talk to those agents, or the agents who talk to the Detroit Lions, may be people who have clients that the Lions don't even want, they've not showed any interest in those clients. For example, one of those agents could have been Aaron Jones's agent. You talk to Aaron Jones's agent, Aaron Jones, they're like, no, we don't want your client, bro. We're not interested. We're not going to make any moves in free agency. Like, maybe they were just trying to be nice. We're not going to be making too many moves. So I don't think that your client is in the best interest of our franchise, because we can't pay him. We can't, right? So he might have taken that and run with it. Nobody knows. As I said yesterday, agents and defense attorneys are not people you should believe, because agents and defensive attorneys were hired by clients and defendants. And some of those people are one and the same. Some of those people are clients and defendants. Some of those people are clients. Some of those people are separately defendants, right? So those people, you should not believe them, okay? You have to take whatever they say with a grain of salt. But we do know what we have seen and what we haven't seen. What up, though, Zach J? He says, what's cracking, not Brad Holmes, because he's taking the insanity route by doing the same thing over and over and over, expecting different results. Define insanity. What we do know is what we've seen, and we haven't seen much at all. But we have seen some things from other general managers, like Les Snead. Mr. F them picks himself, continues to F them picks himself, right? So he said, F that number one pick, that draft pick in the first round. F that fifth, F that sixth, F that third. We're getting Trent McDuffie. Did I need the Lions to trade for Trent McDuffie? Not necessarily. Not necessarily. Did I need the Lions to trade for Micah Parsons last year? Not necessarily. Not necessarily. Did I need the Detroit Lions to trade for Khalil Mack some years ago? Necessarily. Did I need the Detroit Lions to trade for Tyreek Hill? Not necessarily. Who else has been a big name that's been moved? Because did I need the Lions to trade for that person? Well, not necessarily. But I also didn't need the Lions to not do anything at all. From the fact that we haven't seen any restructures, and we're going to talk about that in a minute. The fact that the only trade that's been made is to get a guy off of our team. And again, the new league year is not even here yet. So this may be a bit of an overreaction. We may come back to this stream in a few days and be like, man, Don P was tripping. But we're reacting to the current news of today. If you want to take a wait and see approach, you take a wait and see approach. By the way, can anybody name the picture in that thumbnail? A lot of you are old enough to know. Can you name the picture in the thumbnail? It's famous. But here's the question that I have to ask to you guys. Is Brad Holmes in jail? You may be asking yourself, what do you mean, Don? What do you mean, Mr. P? Is he in jail? Is he handcuffed? Because what happens today with the Trent McDuffie deal? The Los Angeles Rams, okay, and let me take a little segue to talk about the deal right quick. I saw somebody on Twitter who was saying that this was a lot to give up. The pick they gave up was what? Pick number 30, 29-30, because they were in the NFC Championship game. The Rams. They were in the NFC Championship game. They already have an elite roster. So they added an elite player who's on a rookie deal, but his deal needs to be changed. So you gave up number 29 overall or number 30 overall, whatever it is. Guess what you still have? You still have Atlanta's pick, which is like a top 10 pick maybe, or something, or somewhere around there. Very, very close to the top 10. You gave that up. I'm sorry, you didn't give that up. You still have that. Okay, cool. So the sexier of the two picks, you gave yourself. You kept. The almost second rounder, the top of the second round pick, pretty much, that you gave up. You gave that up. You had that, you gave that up. So that's number one. Number two, when the hell did someone ever wring their hands over a fifth and a sixth round pick? Who cares about a fifth and a sixth round pick? You got Tom Brady out of the sixth round. That is why he is the GOAT. That is why he is the outlier. He is not he is not the rule. He's the exception. Cool. If you think you should hold on to a 6th round pick because every year there's going to be a Tom Brady, you're sorely mistaken. And then a third for next year. A third for next year. See, this is what happens when you're trying to win now. You can give up a third for next year. Oh, and we do have some 3rd round stuff we're going to talk about a little bit later in the show. But that's what happens when you're in a win now situation. You give up a third for next year for a player that can actually help you, that a player that actually feels a need, a player that you actually need to be on the field right now that gives you an actual chance to win a Super Bowl. You were at the cusp again. And here's the other thing. Shout out to Doc. Doc had a show today that said, is Les Snead schooling Brad Holmes? Well, he already schooled him. He was with the Rams organization for how long? He schooled him. He showed him the blueprint. He showed him how to get down. He showed him in a trade with him for Matthew Stafford. He said, F them picks. Here, take all these picks. I'm going to take your former quarterback. He's not really your former quarterback because he never really wanted to be there once Brad and Dad got here. But the former quarterback of the Detroit Lions who couldn't win a damn thing with the entire time he was there in Detroit, 12 years, we're going to take him and we're going to win a Super Bowl. Because we were already effing them picks everywhere around. We built an all-star roster. We gave you Odell Beckham. We gave you freaking Von Miller. We gave you Aaron Donald. We gave you this guy. We gave you Jalen Ramsey. We gave you all of these people. We gave that man, Matthew Stafford, a superstar team. We gave him Cooper Kupp. We gave him all these people, and then we went and won a Super Bowl. So is Les Snead schooling Brad Holmes? Yes, he continues to school Brad Holmes. He continues to show Brad Holmes how he needs to do it. What up, though, Herb Gotti? Zach J says, bro, I thought this show was going to be you crying that we didn't tender your favorite player, Tyrus the Virus Week. No, sir. No, sir. No, sir. Tyrus the Virus. He gone. So in order for him to be schooled, he has to be willing to learn. But is he not willing to learn? Or is he not able to learn? And what do I mean by is he not able to learn? Is he stupid? No, that's not what I'm saying. Shout out to the heavies. Because today I was listening to them and they dispelled the rumors. They found $10 more billion for the Lions ownership. How did they find $10 more billion? Remember, I told you Sheila Ford Hamp herself is worth $2 billion. Now, it does get tricky. I'm not going to tell you that it's easy. It does get tricky. Sheila Ford Hamp herself is worth $2 billion. And I keep telling you, Paul Allen's daughter, who he left everything when he died, is worth $20 billion. Okay? So she's 10 times richer than Sheila Ford Hamp. Why does that matter? If you don't know, I'm going to tell you. Apparently, the entire family of the Fords owns the Detroit Lions. It's not just Sheila Ford Hamp. Sheila Ford Hamp is the principal owner, which means she makes the decisions, this, that, and the third thing. Now, what does that mean as well? That when monies come in to an ownership group, the monies get split up. So Sheila Ford Hamp is getting the vast majority of the money from the billionaire family. The Ford family itself is worth almost $13 billion, right? Or the Ford Trust or whatever they want to call it. That's almost $13 billion. Does Sheila have access to that $13 billion? That's the question. How much access does she have to that $13 billion? That's the question. Because she's got $2 billion, and that means everyone else was spread across 10.6, almost $11 billion. So she would need to ask people, her siblings, for money. Last we heard, the boys nobody really wanted anything to do with it. That's why Sheila took over. So it's quite a pickle if you are benefiting from the team in itself and then refusing to help and give money. That's crazy. Or maybe the way they did it is that on paper, she's just the principal owner. They don't have anything to do with it. So she gets all the money from the Lions and they are off spending, doing whatever else they want to do with that 10 plus almost 11 billion amongst the, 4 or 5 of them? Because Martha's share is tenuous because Martha's 100. So just the reality of the situation. Martha is 100 years old. Do with that what you will. I'm not going to say too much. Just that she's 100. When my grandmother hit 100, she forgot who I was. Well, I don't think it was hitting 100. I think she was like 102 or 3 or something like that. Right? So in actuality, you may not have to, and it depends on how wills are drawn up and everything. You may not have to actually kick the bucket to lose control of your funds. If you become senile, however the stuff is written, I don't know. I don't pretend to know how the wills are written and how the estate is handled from the Fords. Okay. But the fact of the matter is that it's possible that hold on. All right. The fact of the matter is there's some money that might be coming available. I know it sounds crazy, right? It sounds crazy. But look, here's my big question. And you may be asking, what does all of this have to do with anything? Well, what this has to do with anything and everything is this. There's restructures. The restructures that need to happen are about money right now. Remember when we talked about escrow? Well, what does that mean? That means that money has to be put in an account and it cannot be touched. Okay? Cool. So they may be drawing against that money. They may be borrowing against that money. They may be whatever the case may be. Okay? If I'm borrowing against some money and I have that money as collateral, I can't actually touch that money. You see what I'm saying? And, billionaires do things like that. Look at Elon Musk. He's going to be a trillionaire very soon, or he is a trillionaire, however it counts, right? He doesn't pay taxes because he doesn't have a salary. He gets paid in stock options. And then in order to cash out those stock options, he doesn't sell his stock. He goes and takes loans out from the bank against the stocks. The stocks are collateral, right? Because debt isn't taxable, he's just creating debt for himself. If he wants $1 million, he goes and takes out a loan for $1 million. And then he can spend that $1 million and it is not able to be taxed. So it doesn't look like income, even though that's exactly what it actually is. So we don't know what they're doing with that money. And maybe, just maybe, that $50 million that you're going to go ahead and give Jared Goff is not currently available because it is sitting in an escrow account that you have a loan against, and you've taken out loans in order to duck the tax laws. And now the bill has come due because you need to restructure Jared Goff, Amon-Ra St. Brown, and Penei Sewell. And now you got to give out $150 million, $200 million today. Because when you restructure them, that portion of their salary is guaranteed, right? You're taking that portion of their salary, which is usually their cap hit, and you're making it a signing bonus, right? So if my cap hit is $69 million like Jared Goff, but what I was going to be paid to, or what I was going to make over the course of the season was $50 million. Then what I was going to make over the course of the season now is due at signing. It becomes a signing bonus. You give it to me today. And that alleviates the cap hit, and then we spread it over void years, and that's how that happens. So do we have the money is the question. I'll give you the answer on the other side. Let me get to your comments. Zach J says, we ordered Les Snead off Temu and we got Brad Holmes. Keep up the good work, sir. Appreciate you. Cade Cunningham. Listen, Cade Cunningham is a dog. Cade Cunningham is the real MVP. Nobody wanted to tell Kendrick Perkins how to pronounce Cunningham, so it is good. When you're talking that kind of money, if I have $1 billion, how do I get to $2 billion? That's how they work. Football is just a piece of the pie. Well, football is just a piece of the pie, but Sheila Ford Hamp does put on a great poker face if it's just a piece of the pie. What up, though, Ryan's reaction? All right. So here's the answer to the question. The question is, do we have the money? Well, I don't know if we do have the money. I just don't know if Sheila wants to spend the money. And this is the reason why I asked you, is Brad Holmes in jail? Is Brad Holmes handcuffed? Is Bargain Bin Brad a thing because he's cheap? Or is it a thing because that's what he's been given? Right? Did she come in and say, Lions fans, Brad, hey, baby, listen, you're going to have to do what you can do with the money that I give you. Because I'm not finna let you spend everything that I got on this team. You're going to need to be frugal, and you're going to need to get things together the way they happen. Now, we may be asking ourselves, how frugal can you be when you got $1 billion tied up in 9 players? Okay? You got $1 billion tied up in 9 players. How frugal are you being? That's the point where I don't say, nah, this is Bargain Bin Brad being Bargain Bin Brad because he's a bargain bin guy. because he fell in love with Jahmyr Gibbs. He fell in love with Sam Laporta. He fell in love with Brian Branch. He fell in love with Jared Goff. He fell in love with Amon-Ra St. Brown. He fell in love with J-Mo. He fell in love with Jack Campbell. All these people that he's drafted other than Jared Goff. Actually, he may have had a hand. He had a hand in drafting Jared Goff because he was a scout for the Los Angeles Rams when he was drafted. It was the St. Louis Rams at the time. Okay. So he did have a hand in acquiring Jared Goff. Just not. No, actually, he had a hand in acquiring Jared Goff in St. Louis. Then he had a hand in acquiring Jared Goff in Detroit because of the trade. So, yes, I would say that he fell in love with Jared Goff. So you fall in love with these guys that you paid, and there were some guys in there like Jahmyr Gibbs, Sam Laporta, Brian Branch that haven't been paid yet. But what's the expectation? The expectation is Jahmyr Gibbs is getting his extension today. Well, not today, this offseason, right? Pick up the fifth-year option is going to get picked up. Then there's going to be an extension. That's the expectation, right? Cool. Jack Campbell, same draft, same round, same thing, right? Pick up the fifth-year option, give an extension. Okay? Sam Laporta, Brian Branch, round 2, no fifth-year options available. This is the last year of their contract. Are they going to be extended? I don't know for sure because one of them is probably going to be ready for the beginning of the season, coming off of a back injury, having a procedure. If you don't want to call it surgery, you call it a procedure. And the other one is coming off of an Achilles tear, and he probably won't be ready until November. How do you extend a person who you're only going to see 2 months of? I don't know. And it's not an extension if your salary is it's a new deal. Okay. We do seem to be holding on to players like never seen before in Detroit. Facts. And that's where the Trent McDuffie thing comes in. And that's where there is Les Snead schooling Brad Holmes. Is Brett Veach schooling Brad Holmes? Sometimes you get a guy in the first round and the plan is to have him for 5 years. That's what, listen, I don't know that was the plan for Brett Veach when he drafted Trent McDuffie. But I do know that he can look at Trent McDuffie because of the way that they move, the way that they have Patrick Mahomes, the way that they have Andy Reid, the way that they won 2 Super Bowls with Trent McDuffie, and they say, thank you for your service, Trent. But we're in cap hell. So we got to go get you your replacement in the draft. We've got a top 10 draft pick, number 9. Patrick Mahomes probably done, like a lot of the season going to be out next year. So they're going to suck again next year. That's another top 10 draft pick coming in. So, and then they just got a Rams draft pick, right? So they can use that, or they can package that first round pick and some other picks and move up in the draft to get other pieces that they can have for 5 years and move on from if they need to. They can wash, rinse, repeat because they've won Super Bowls. Brett Veach has 3 Super Bowls with Patrick Mahomes. So they can afford to do the things that they do. We have held on to players for dear life and have won nothing. We got to the NFC Championship game, and that was that. We haven't been back there, and we have not. We did not advance. Okay. Now, did I need the Trent McDuffie trade to happen for the Lions? No. Did I need any trade that's happened in the past where the Lions could have got in on that guy? And you say, wow, that's all he went for? I'm going to tell you this. Wow, that's all Trent McDuffie went for. Somebody said that the Chiefs got a haul. The Chiefs got a first round pick and maybe a third. If you want to talk about value, they got 2 picks that are of any value. The Rams 2027 third round pick projects to be a 4th round pick. Just like their 2026 first round pick projects to be a 2nd round pick. If you want to put this in perspective, how excited are most of us about Tyleik Williams? Because he was number 28. How excited were most of us when we drafted Tyleik Williams? How excited were most of us when we watched his play this season? Most of us were like, where is he? What is he doing? Right? And then you got to watch the tape and be like, okay, he did some things. But that's pick number 28. The Rams are 29, 30. I think it's 29. Okay. That's the type of player that you're looking at the bottom of the first round. The bottom of the first round. You're not looking at franchise changer. Which is why, right? Which is why the Rams were comfortable giving that up. And they also had a top 10 pick from the Atlanta Falcons, which they kept. Because the Rams are going to do the same thing. They're going to grab a top 10 guy that they can keep for 5 years. And if contracts don't work out and things of that nature, then they can make the decision. If he pans out, we'll pick up his 5th-year option. And how many Super Bowls will we win in that 5-year window? Who knows? If we don't win any, then maybe we can keep him and move on from somebody else. And that Stafford contract is going to be off the books real soon. Right? It was an announcement. It was a thing when he was at the ESPYs and he announced that he was going to be coming back to the Rams. People didn't know. Remember last year, it was like, is he even going to make it through the season? He's got this back injury. Nobody knows anything. He wasn't expected to play. He was expected to miss this, that, and the third thing. Now he's back. And now he's coming back. So now they're reloading in a time where they're going to have to get a rookie quarterback on a rookie deal in the next couple of years. And guess what that means? Guess what that means? Les Snead is going to have even more money to operate with. And Les Snead will go and get you somebody. He might just say F them picks and go get a, God forbid, Josh Allen. Who knows? Right? Now, Matthew Stafford's contract is off the books. We're not ready to get a rookie. We just want to keep this thing rolling. So let's go and get somebody like that. I don't think that the Buffalo Bills be dumb enough to trade Josh Allen unless they just become disenfranchised with Josh Allen and be like, we're never going to win a Super Bowl. He's like the latest Jim Kelly for us. So let's trade him get whatever we can get from him, and it'll be less need. Like, oh, how many picks do you want? Because F all of them. Do we want to do the Ricky Williams draft? Hey, you can have our whole draft. We'll take Josh Allen. He just might. All right. What up, though, Mr. Morale 313? Robert Stevens says, where is the winning medium for us? That's the question, right? That is the question. From Brad Holmes draft picks with the Lions, the players no longer on the roster includes James Mitchell, James Houston, Colby Harden, and Giovanni Bernard. I hope you mean Colby Sorsdale, because that dude should not be on the roster. While those currently not starters, primarily on the bench or practice squad, are Derek Barnes, Levi Onwuzurike, Colby Sorsdal, Hendon Hooker. No, so Hendon Hooker is no longer on the roster either. Christian Mahogany, Christian Jones, and Miles Frazier. The Rams don't care about first-round draft picks because they draft well in the second, third, and the fourth rounds. They did get what's that dude? Why am I forgetting his name? Brian Young. They got Colby Turner. All these people not in the first round. Represents 34% of all Holmes picks. But those are here's the from what you said, right? From Brad Holmes draft picks, the Lions players no longer on the roster include James Mitchell, that's a fifth. James Houston, that's a sixth. Colby Harden, I don't know who that is, but I'm thinking it's Colby Sorsdal, which is a fifth. And Giovanni Bernard. Giovanni Bernard was a running back. Yeah, you mean, I think you're confusing some people. I think you're confusing some people. Gio Bernard was a running back, and he wasn't drafted by the Lions. He played for the Bengals. So I think you got this from a search engine. Right. So again, Colby Sorsdal should not be on the roster, but he was a fifth. Levi Onwuzurike is on the roster. He's a second. Derek Barnes is a starter. Hendon Hooker is not on the roster. He was a third. Christian Mahogany is a sixth, and he is a backup right now, unless they're going to open up the competition and he somehow gets, whatever. Christian Jones, I don't know him. Miles Frazier is also a fifth. Okay. So, Braden Fisk as well, right? They got him in the second round. So, yes. All right. Since we're talking about Brad Holmes draft picks, I've compiled something for you guys, and I want to let you know, or I want you to let me know what you think of this situation. And also, no one has told me what the picture in the thumbnail is yet. Bonus points for being able to tell me what that original picture is. Bonus points. All right. I compiled a little thing last night because as I was talking to my peeps at Syndicats 365, again, if you haven't caught Syndicats 365, we will be live. I believe it's Sunday night at 9 on Lions, not on Detroit Sports Syndicate. That's where that's where we will be hosting the show. So if you haven't subscribed over there, please do that. If you haven't subscribed to Motor City Cats, please do that. All right. I've compiled a list of Brad Holmes' third round picks. Okay. Because I always talk to you about the third round picks and how I'm upset about the third round picks. So let's start with here. Brad Holmes has traded away a total of 8 third round draft picks during his tenure as the Detroit Lions GM. He's frequently used them as ammunition to move up for targeted players or to acquire established veterans. I think the only established veteran he acquired with the third round pick was Carlton Davis. Okay. All right. Which was good. But Carlton Davis is also not on our team anymore. Okay. Here's a breakdown of every third round pick he has traded away and what the Lions got in return. In the 2022 draft day trade with the Vikings, he traded away a 2022 third round pick, number 66, along with picks 32 and 34. Received 2022 first round pick, number 12, which turned into Jameson Williams, and a 2022 second round pick, number 46, which turned into Josh Pascal. Not hating. Not going to hate on that. You got J-Mo, Josh Pascal, okay. But you got J-Mo for a third round pick. There was one third round pick in that trade, number 66. Okay. And then you traded away a first and a second. Cool. So would you say that was a good use of a third round pick? I would say that was good use of a third round pick. So with the Carlton Davis thing, that's still gonna happen now. Okay. So in this draft, we will be compensated for Carlton Davis. It could be a fifth rounder all the way up into a third rounder. So it's the league's discretion what it is. So I think with you've got to look at DJ Reed's contract, and then you've got to look at the fact that he did a stint on IR. And all of that, they're going to factor into some formula, which gives you the compensatory pick for the Detroit Lions losing Carlton Davis to free agency. Okay? So, as I said, I think that's good use of a third round pick. You got Jameson Williams. Josh Pascal wasn't great. Prediction is a fifth rounder. Probably. The league loves us. Not really. All right. 2023 draft day trade with the Cardinals. We traded away our 2023 third round pick, number 81, along with the number 6 overall pick. We received the 2023 first round pick, number 12, which was Jahmyr Gibbs, a second round pick, which was number 34, Sam Laporta, and a fifth round pick, which was number 168. What did we do with the 168? Doesn't matter. Okay. So while including a third round pick in that trade, we got Jahmyr Gibbs and Sam Laporta. Not going to hate on that. No problem. Okay. No problem with that at all. The 2024 offseason trade with the Buccaneers. That's Carlton Davis. We traded away a 2024 third round pick, number 92, and we got Carlton Davis. We received veteran cornerback Carlton Davis III, a 2024 sixth round pick, and a 2025 sixth round pick. Okay. So for the first 3 years, Brad Holmes was good with his third round picks. Okay. Except for the Hendon Hooker pick. And if you wanted to, if you want to take the Hendon Hooker pick and say, at the time, it wasn't awful. At the time, we needed a backup quarterback. At the time, Hendon Hooker was available because he had torn his ACL, and everybody thought he was going to be the Heisman winner if he hadn't torn his ACL. And you get a guy like that, okay? You get a guy like that. Wait 1 second. Okay, you get a guy like that in the third round. He's available, and you go, "Hey, that was a pretty good pick." However, wait till you see who was available after him. Now, a lot of people will tell you, well, in that draft, Brad Holmes had already gotten Jahmyr Gibbs, Sam Laporta, Jack Campbell, or let me go in order. Jahmyr Gibbs, Jack Campbell, Sam Laporta, Brian Branch. He got those 4. So Brad Holmes could do whatever he wanted after that. Again, we've had defensive issues since they got here. So Hendon Hooker was the 68th overall pick. Tank Dell was immediately drafted after him. If I'm telling you defense, doesn't matter that the wide receiver was drafted after him. Byron Young. Can I interest you in a Byron Young? Okay. Garrett Williams is a corner. Hold on. Okay. There's another. I'm still updating the list. Okay. But again, that was a good pick at the time. Maybe. Do you prioritize a backup quarterback over defense? Okay. Let's look at the rest of the way how the third round played out between Hendon Hooker and Broderick Martin. As we said, Tank Dell, Byron Young, Kendre Miller is a running back. Don't care about that. Garrett Williams, he's a cornerback. Jalen Hyatt, wide receiver. Don't really care about that. Cedric Tillman, wide receiver. Okay, we don't really care about that. All right. Zach Harrison was a defensive end. Marte Mapu was a safety. Byron Young, okay, so there were 2 Byron Youngs. Both of them were drafted afterwards. Byron Young, who's the defensive end of the Los Angeles Rams. He's pretty good, right? Could have had him. Tucker Kraft. Josh Downs. D.J. Johnson is a linebacker. Tyjae Spears, who's running back. Yahya Diaby, defensive end. Could have had him. Riley Moss. Devon Achane. Ooh, here's one. Here's one that you're going to love. Dayon Henley. Los Angeles Chargers. Trenton Simpson, linebacker, Baltimore Ravens. Jair Brown, safety. Tank Bigsby. Oh, here's a big one. Here's a big one. Kobe Turner, defensive tackle, went to the Los Angeles Rams. So they got Byron Young and Kobe Turner in the third round between Hendon Hooker and Broderick Martin. Oh, you're going to love this one. You guys are going to love this one. Let me know. Let me know if you love it. DeMarvion Overshown. Dallas Cowboys. Dorian Williams, linebacker, Buffalo Bills. Wayne Morris. Darnell Washington, Pittsburgh Steelers. Tight end. Michael Wilson, wide receiver, and one more, right before Broderick Martin, right before the 96th pick of the NFL draft, of the 2024 NFL draft. The Cincinnati Bengals select Jordan Battle. Am I tripping? So now, when you look at the fact that Jordan Battle, DeMarvion Overshown, Kobe Turner, Jair Brown, Trenton Simpson, Dayon Henley, Devon Achane, which you wouldn't have mattered because you had Jahmyr Gibbs. Riley Moss, he's a corner. We don't have corners, right? Yahya Diaby, Byron Young, and the other Byron Young. We would say Garrett Williams, you want. What is that? 8 defensive players that you just pick one of them could help you on defense. Okay, you got you got 2 players for offense in that draft. You got 2 players for defense in that draft. Why not get more defense? Our defense is cheeks. It's cheeks. It's not any good. Okay. So, and then of course you traded back up into the 3rd and you used that pick on Broderick Martin. Jordan Battle was the pick right before that. And you use that pick on Broderick Martin. Okay, awesome. Let's look at the next one. 2024 from the Cowboys. Hold on. No, go back. Okay, 2024. Trade with the Buccaneers. We got Carlton Davis, right? Now in 2024, there was a draft day trade with the Cowboys. We traded away our 2024 3rd round pick, number 73, along with the number 29 overall pick. We received 2024 first round pick, number 24, which is Terrion Arnold, and a 2025 7th round pick. The book is still out on whether Terrion Arnold is ever going to play football again. And the book is still out on whether Terrion Arnold is ever going to realize his potential, get out of his own head, and use the technique, which I see. It's there. It's there. It's present. It may be just a little bit dormant or whatever, but it's present. Maybe better coaching and development. I don't know. Dan Campbell was excited about this butt cheeks defensive coaching staff. So maybe if we had better coaches to develop Terrion Arnold, he'd be better at this point in his career. He also needs to stay on the field, and he needs to stay off his phone texting terroristic threats and violence. I don't know. Maybe he didn't do that, allegedly. Who knows? Test down trade did not make sense. Our 3rd this year, plus both picks we got for our DC getting the HC job was a reach. Yep, we're going to talk about that in a second. That's probably 3 solid players for Tesla. All right. I can look at the Tesla thing as well. Let me do that. All right. Okay. Let's look at that. It's early, but we might see some names. All right. Now, let's get into the meat and potatoes of just as there was a shift in what a 3rd round pick needed to be. To this point, up until the Hendon Hooker pick, I'm going to tell you every use of a 3rd round pick was solid. Every one of them. Okay. Um, 2024 draft day trade with the Jets. We traded away a 2025 third round pick for next year. We received a 2024 fourth round pick, which was Giovanni Manu. Asinine. Don't know what he was doing with that one. 2025 draft day trade with the Jaguars. We traded away 3 third round picks, a 2025 third round pick, number 102, and 2 2026 third round picks, 1 original, 1 compensatory. We received 2025 third round pick, number 70, Isaac TeSlaa, a 2025 6th round pick, and a 2026 6th round pick. Honestly, never cared for Terrion from the beginning. He had that weird draft story about the Raiders, I think. I don't know about, you know what I did notice, and I was talking about this yesterday with the peeps. I think Terrion talks too much, and I don't mean that in a way. I think he has talked so much that he has put an immense pressure on his own self. You grabbed the mic, you said, I'm home, Detroit. Detroit, y'all got a star. And now you've been trying to live up to what you said, which has you in your own head and which has you unable to use the ability that you have. Did I want Terrion? Hell no. I wanted Jared Verse. If you're going to be trading up and doing all this other stuff, trade up and get Jared Verse. Don't let Les Snead F them picks again. Anyway, all right. Here is the list of people that were drafted after Isaac TeSlaa. Again, it's early. This is his first year. This is their first year. But we'll see if we'll come up with any names. Okay, so number 1, it was the 71st pick because he was the 70th. Vernon Broughton, don't know him. Landon Jackson, edge, Bills. Azariah Thomas, cornerback, New York Jets. Now, nobody on the New York Jets got an interception. But Azariah Thomas is a corner. What do we not have? Corners. Pat Bryant, wide receiver, Denver Broncos. Nick Martin, linebacker, San Francisco. Siobhan Ravel, cornerback, Dallas Cowboys. Another corner who had some pre-draft buzz. Azariah Thomas had some pre-draft buzz. Siobhan Ravel had some pre-draft buzz. Princely, right? He went to the Carolina. I didn't want Princely, but he's an edge that you could have gotten in the 3rd round. But you took a wide receiver. You could have got an edge in the 3rd round. Princely, I didn't like for a first rounder, which is what he was being mocked as, right? I saw some mock drafts that sent Princely to the Lions with the 28th pick, and he went in the 3rd round. We already know, famously, another guy that didn't get drafted, and we know the reason that he didn't get drafted. But Princely was there. Jordan Birch, edge, Arizona Cardinals. Jalen Noel, wide receiver. Justin Whaley, cornerback. Dylan Fairchild, offensive guard. Dylan Fairchild, offensive guard, Kevin Winston Jr., safety. Caleb Johnson, running back. Jacob Parrish, cornerback. Noel Williams, cornerback. Jamari Caldwell, defensive tackle. Savion Williams. Savion Williams went. And, we see Savion Williams twice a year. Caleb Ransaw, cornerback. Wyatt Millam, offensive guard. Josiah Stewart, edge. But, Josiah Stewart's too little. Okay. He doesn't fit our scheme. Emory Jones, Jr., offensive tackle. Jalen Milroe, quarterback. I wanted Jalen Milroe as a tush-push merchant. Jonas Sanker, safety, who Jonas Sanker was a name that we all heard about Well, if maybe you didn't, but we heard about him. Would have helped us more than a wide receiver. Dylan Gabriel, Jared Wilson, center. Xavier Watts, safety. Jalen Smith, cornerback. Caleb Rogers, offensive tackle. Savion Jones, defensive lineman. And Ty Felton, wide receiver. So there were some promising names in there. There was some secondary help in there. We took a safety. His name was Dan Jackson. It was in the 7th round. I'm just saying. That's what has happened since the Hendon Hooker trade, or the Hendon Hooker pick in the 3rd round. Brad Holmes has just decided that these 3rd round picks mean nothing. The first 3 years, he was cooking with the 3rd round picks. He got J-Mo as part. He used a 3rd round pick to get J-Mo as part of the trade package. He used a 3rd round pick to get Jahmyr Gibbs and Sam Laporta as part of the the trade package. He used a 3rd round pick to get Carlton Davis. Right? He was doing his thing. And then he decided to draft Hendon Hooker and Broderick Martin in the same 3rd round. And there was so many players that we could have drafted instead of Broderick Martin and Hendon Hooker that would have helped this team. Neither one of them helped the team. And as I said, you could say that it was a decent pick at the time, the Hendon Hooker pick, because we needed a backup quarterback. Did you in that 3rd round, in that specific 3rd round, which produced Colby Turner, and Byron Young, and Yahya Diaby, and others? There were 8 names that are impacting their teams positively that we could have taken instead of both Hendon Hooker and Broderick Martin. Jordan Battle right before Broderick Martin. I'm just saying, bro. I'm just saying. Ravel was getting cooked. He is listen, I said for the Isaac TeSlaa joint, I said there's promise. Okay. I'm not ready to do the Broderick Martin situation with Isaac TeSlaa because it was just last year. Okay. But as I said, there were some promising names there. Okay. Promising. Don't know what they're gonna be because they were all rookies this year. We know what Byron Young is. We know what Colby Turner is. We know what Yahya Diaby is, right? We know these people. So that for that one, I'm good. I don't know for sure what those guys are going to be behind Isaac TeSlaa, but I know that there is some promise. All right. Y'all know what it is. Mailbag. What you gonna do? What you gonna do when they read and you snick the mailbag? Get your mailbag questions in. Get them in. Bask in it. All right, get y'all mailbag questions in, man. Listen, themockmachine.com. We are plugging away. I'm trying to make sure that it updates based on the news. That is the final feature that I need to put in before it is 100% ready to go, and then you can do your mock drafts. I know Lions Live 365 does mock drafts, and he hasn't been to the mock machine yet. I don't know what he's waiting on. But that is what that is. But I'm feverishly working on it. I'm going to try to get it done today because instead of taking my 24 hours off tomorrow, which is Friday for me, I'm just going to take it off today so that I can work through the weekend, because the weekend you make a lot of money, and I'm willing to sacrifice a Thursday. So it's Thursday for me. What did we give up for Martin? No third round picks. Let's see. The Broderick Martin trade was, I have it here. Hold on. That's the Vaki trade. Okay, so to acquire the number 96 pick, Holmes sent a package of 3 day 3 draft picks to the Arizona Cardinals, the 4th, the 5th, and the 5th. So he had a 4th round pick, which is number 122. A 5th was 139, and another 5th was 168. That's crazy, because didn't we get the 168 from the Cardinals before? So we just traded them back their pick that we already got from them. That's crazy. So no, we didn't use any third round picks to acquire the Broderick Martin pick, but then we wasted the third round pick that we acquired on Broderick Martin. All right. Mailbag questions. Mailbag. Yeah, that's him. Mailbag. Again, what is the picture in the thumbnail? Come on, y'all. I know some of y'all is older than me. What's the picture in the thumbnail? We need someone to get that, because I've put it out there a couple times during the show, and nobody has identified that picture. No one has identified it. Come on now. It's from the 90s. I'll tell you that. So if you a 2000s baby, you probably don't know what it is. Thank you. My goodness, man. My dog. Mike Tyson going to jail. Mike Tyson being arrested, right? When he was like, right? That's Mike Tyson, man. The question is, does Brad trade next year's third this year? I hope not, bro. Listen, and if he does, I hope it's for an impact player. Because look, that list that I just read you was concerning about all them draft picks that he gave up. Right? I would say he wasted 2 with Hendon Hooker and Broderick Martin. He wasted 1 with Manu, and he wasted 3 on Isaac Tesla. And I'm saying that it was a waste because there were defensive players that were picked after him that might have been able to help your team. Right? There were offensive linemen that were picked after him that would have been able to help your team. The Frank Ragnow situation is unforgivable. You are the general manager. You cannot have an all-pro guy mulling over retirement, and you actually said that there were breadcrumbs. You can't have him mulling over retirement, and you have no plan to address what he's doing. You didn't address it in free agency, and you didn't address it in the draft, and you used 3 third-round picks to trade for to draft a wide receiver. And there were offensive linemen that were picked after him. And now you're in offensive line hell, needing Taylor Decker to come back. Talking about what up, though, Tactical Sport? Talking about opening up competition. for the guard spot, or I should say spots. Who do you have that's worthy of a starting position in the NFL at the interior, at either guard spot? If you're telling me that, and they're opening up competition because Tate Ratledge is going to move to center, who on your roster do you have that's worthy of competing to be a starter? We saw Christian Mahogany, what he looked like when Frank Ragnow wasn't next to him. I don't know if Colby Sorsdal is still on this roster. I don't. He shouldn't be if he is. Coyote Owasika is a free agent. Tristan Colon, I think he was on a 1-year deal. Christian Mahogany, as I said, Miles Frazier, who knows? Okay, he basically missed 95% of his rookie season. So we still don't know what he is or what he can be yet. We know what he was at LSU, but that's college. If we're being honest, he's the only one that you have who's worthy of competing. And last year we kept begging you to put him in, and they kept putting in Tristan Colon. Fortunately, Kingsley is gone. Backup center. We got Michael Neese. Who's competing, bro? I don't understand who's competing. So all of that could have been mitigated by you doing something better with that with those 3 picks from Isaac TeSlaa. All of that could have been done better. You could have drafted an offensive lineman, okay, and then use the other 2 picks in another trade to trade back up into the 3rd round and get another offensive lineman, or get someone on defense, get a linebacker, get an edge. As I said, Princely was there. He was being mocked in the 1st round. I didn't like him. I didn't love him, not for the 1st round, but to take a flyer on him in the 3rd would have been fine for me. Would have been fine for me. Let me see. Let me see something right quick. Right quick. Like Keith Sweat said, nobody, baby, nobody. And 2/3 this year would be a lot of ammo this year. He said, what Mike Tyson going to jail for now? No, that was the thumbnail. I put Brad Holmes as Mike Tyson in his famous, what do they call it? Grape arrest from the 90s. All right. So during his 2025 rookie season with the Carolina Panthers, Princely Umanmielen played in 16 games. Okay, there was only one game he didn't play in, and posted the following defensive stats. Now, this is about to blow your mind. 24 total tackles, 13 solo tackles, 11 assisted tackles, 1.5 sacks, 1 forced fumble, 1 fumble recovery. Okay? Now, Y'all ready to have your minds blown? Now let me blow your mind. It's coming. It's coming. Remember, 24 total tackles, 13 solo, 11 assisted, 1.5 sacks, 1 forced fumble, 1 fumble recovery. So he either forced and recovered the same fumble or he recovered a fumble for somebody else. Now let's compare that with our favorite retread of all time. Oh, Mr. Marcus Davenport. Games played, Princely 16, Marcus 8. Total tackles, Princely 24, Marcus 14. Solo tackles, 13-6. Assisted tackles, 11-8. Sacks, 1.5 to 1. Forced fumbles, 1 to none. Fumble recoveries, 1 to none. Interceptions, 0 to 0. Now it says, note, official sources show a slight variance for Davenport's solo versus assisted tackles, but they universally agreed to 14 total tackles for his 8 games played. And people who have a problem with this comparison, they're like, well, Princely played 16 games and Marcus Davenport played 8. Those numbers are skewed. Exactly. Marcus Davenport played 8 games, which we knew was going to. Bro, we set the over-under at 3. We set the over-under at 3. He smashed the over. We set it at 3, bro. Brother, we set it at 3. And he played 8. And there's 17 of them things. Once again, he missed more than he played. And this rookie outplayed him. And here's the final nail in the coffin. Here's the final nail in the coffin. Because most of these guys, they don't fit our scheme. They don't fit what we do. They're not big enough. They don't weigh enough. This, that, and the third thing. Okay? Princely's 6'5", 6'4" and 3/8. So whatever. If you say 6'4.5". Okay? 244 pounds. He's only 244 pounds, but he was more productive. He had more tackles than your 280 pounder and Marcus Davenport, or 270 pounds, however heavy he is. I mean, he could have been had in the 3rd round. Didn't want him in the 1st round, not at all. Not at all. But you could have drafted him instead of Isaac TeSlaa. I'm saying. Nobody was even checking on Isaac TeSlaa in the mock season. Nothing. Nobody. I hadn't heard of Isaac TeSlaa at all. Right? So as a prospect, he's basically an inch shorter, not even a whole inch. He's 6'4" and 3/8. Davenport is 6'5" and 3/4. So he's not even a whole inch shorter. 20 pounds lighter. 20 pounds. He has longer arms He's 33 and 7/8, so basically 34 inches. And Marcus Davenport is 33 and 5/8. He has bigger hands than Marcus Davenport. He's 9 and 5/8. Marcus Davenport is 9 and 1/8. Marcus Davenport is faster. The 40-yard dash was a 4.72 to a 4.58. The 10-yard split, which is what matters for an offensive lineman, is actually better for Princely. 1.62 to Marcus Davenport's 1.63. Vertical jump. Princely blows this out of the water. 38 inches to Marcus Davenport's 33.5. Broad jump. 10.6 to Marcus Davenport's 10.4. Three-cone drill. 7.33 seconds to Marcus Davenport's 7.20 seconds. 20-yard shuttle, again, not much difference. 4.46 seconds to Marcus Davenport's 4.41 seconds. It says, while Marcus Davenport came into the league with a larger frame and posted a blazing 40-yard dash for his size, Umenemelin shows an edge in lower body explosiveness with a higher vertical and longer broad jump, along with slightly longer arms despite being shorter. Now, to be fair, there was about 5 games where he stood around trying not to get injured. So that's 3 games where he tallied stats. Again, so we said over under on 3. It was 3 where he tried to be productive and 5 where he was just like, I'm not doing this. I'm just on the field. That's the guy. But Princely was right there. I didn't want Princely as a first-round pick. Not at all. That's why he got drafted in the 3rd round. But it's really a difference of 20 pounds, bro. Like you can put on 20 pounds of muscle in the NFL. You really can. Strength and training. Just let that staff, they got to do something. These second-year flyers on injured players ain't working. They're not. The odds Brad Holmes trades into the 3rd round this year. He might not have to. As we said earlier, that you might get a 3rd round compensatory pick for Carlton Davis, and that's on the blessing end if the league decides to bless us. But that's probably not going to happen. All right, y'all. I'm going to go ahead and get out of here. But if that doesn't happen, I do believe he'll probably trade into the 3rd round. He's got enough ammo to do so. But if you trade into the 3rd round, you better be taking someone who's worth taking. Because if you do another Broderick Martin, I'm out. All right. Once again, y'all, appreciate you coming through, stopping by for a conversation. No drink. But again, themockmachine.com. I am feverishly working on an update to make sure that it takes the news into consideration and then it updates rosters and things like that. Because if I have to make an update on every roster move, especially right now, it's never going to be updated. So it's never going to be current, I should say. So I'm trying to make that get done. I'll probably get it done today. I got to finish one more other project, and then I can devote a bunch of time to doing that today. FA starts on Monday. If he doesn't restructure any contracts before the end of the day Friday, he isn't going to do anything in free agency, and that's the problem. All right. Once again, the Motor City Cats R&D back at it. We came to give you stats, not none of that static. Whatever you do, make sure you keep your Lions news pragmatic, and we are out. Peace. We'll see you tomorrow.